Alright, so welcome back to another videos. I wanted to make an Armored Core video because we actually got the showcase that happened 2 days ago now. I'm a little bit late on that, but we had that showcase, lots of things that they revealed once again, more PvE stuff obviously, but also this time we got more details on PvP finally. Just 1 week before the release of the game. Yay. So I just wanted to give my opinion on this. I've seen there's a lot of people being excited about it, and I've also seen some people being pretty worried about it. Not actually worried, straight up negative about it. So I kind of wanted to talk more about Armored Core before the game would release, actually, because this new footage that we got of Armored Core 6 kind of made me think about it a little bit more. And to be honest with you, I would say, and I would actually admit that I do share some of the concerns of the people who are a bit more negative about the game. The thing is, like I said before, multiple times now, I am not an old Armored Core fans. That's why whenever I make videos, I always ask questions like, "Oh, was this in the old game, or was this like in the new game?" Or I try to see if there's like more things to compare with the old game, because I think it's fun to see things they bring back or things they add. You know, it's nice to know about all that stuff. It's nice to get into it while knowing the history of the franchise, right? So the thing is, however, with the new footage that we've got, right? I have to make the video because like I said, I have to be honest as possible with the people who subscribe to the channel, because I made some Armored Core videos before. The thing is, with this new footage, right? PvE, I would say, for example, they showed it. It's on the screen right now. It's looking pretty fun. I think the PvE side of the game will be enjoyable, like going through the story, going through the different playthroughs. I'm pretty sure they will still have the thing where you have to do multiple endings, and probably other missions through multiple endings, right? You'll have like new missions that you unlock through doing multiple playthroughs of the game, and that would be nice. But there are still things I'm not totally a fan of, like the refill station or the assembly, you know, on checkpoints. I think PvE looks fine. PvP though, that's where most of the concerns come from, especially from the old time players, at least some of them. And I definitely have to agree with them. The thing is, like I said, again, I'm no old Armored Core fans, and I actually don't like the discourse around Armored Core, because it's the same discourse that I always hear about whenever there's a new game coming out. You know, on my channel I covered a lot of games like fighting games. So for example, Guilty Gear had that discourse. Tekken is it's literally the first game I've ever played in my entire life, and now there's a new iteration, Tekken 8. It's having that discourse too. People are not happy. People are happy at the same time. There's like all kinds of things. And then my favorite fighting game at the moment is like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and it's also going through that. So that kind of thing is just, I just don't like whenever there's this kind of like this kind of just discussion around the games. Like, it's not fun, it's annoying, and people are just annoying. People who really, you know, people who are always hating on the games are annoying. People who are always hyping up the games are also really annoying. Like, I just want people to not just be more like reasonable. that's the thing. Be more reasonable. Like, I feel like a game like Armored Core 6, for example, I feel just because From Software has had a lot of like good games recently, it feels like there's no criticism that we can give anymore, and I don't like that. Like, I think it's always nice that even when you like a game, it's always nice to be able to pinpoint things that are not okay, because that's how the games get better. I remember I like Code Vein a lot. Like, I'm a big, but my channel, the big views I got on the channel was because of Code Vein. I made tons of Code Vein videos, but even that game, I would criticize it, rightfully so, on things that were wrong about it. And Code Vein is not made by From Software, for sure. It has issues, but even then, people who really like the game fucking hate it every single time that I actually criticize anything about the game, because they don't want to hear it. It's not to just shit on the game. I want the games to be better. That's the thing. So when it comes to the PvP of Armored Core, I'm no old player, but I do enjoy PvP in a lot of different type of games. It's not just fighting game for me. I play a lot of things like Overwatch, I play Apex, I play Valorant, I play League, I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I even play Final Fantasy 14 PvP. I play all kinds of PvP just because I think the idea of player versus player is fun. It's always something that is it's always something that is more like a puzzle to solve, because fighting other players is always interesting. It's kind of a way to have a conversation or an interaction with another player, right? On the internet, it's kind of nice. So for that reason, I really like PvP in video games, and it doesn't matter if the game is built for PvP or not. It's just that there's an extent to where the PvP can be good or can be straight up bad. And I think for a game like Armored Core, again, because of the history, and the history is important, Armored Core has lived really well and has been able to maintain itself because of the PvP community. Like, the people who play PvP really love the PvP, and they keep playing it. They've been playing it forever. So I think it's cool, and it's the same too for games like Dark Souls 3, even games like Dark Souls 2. They're very much maintained because of the PvP. There's also a lot of things like mods, right? Mods are great for that reason, because people can keep playing the game even though there's no more updates for it. So mods and PvP are huge for these games. So the thing is, Armored Core 6 PvP has been shown. We've seen 3v3s, we've seen 1v1s, and this showcase was not the only one that showed PvP. There was a little bit of a leak beforehand for the PvP, and also a couple days before the showcase there was also another showcase going on that was like the PlayStation showcase, and there was another one that was called Play or something like that, where they got people to play more of the PvP. So there was a lot of footage for PvP just overall, and we got to see a lot of different things. So I kind of want to just talk about my issues with the PvP and why I think, to me, is a big problem. Like I said, I'm a PvP fan in a lot of different games, and for this game, I think PvP is something that I was really looking forward to, because I'm not that big in terms of single player content for video games. I really like multiplayer in general. So I was already bummed out by the fact that this game would not have co-op. I really wish it did, because it would be fun to just hop on and play with friends. So it would be mostly like single player co-op, and then single player story mode and stuff like that, and then you have like the PvP, and it kind of sucks for that reason, honestly. But PvP was, like I said, something I was looking forward to. And now, after watching all the footage, at first I was like, yay, PvP. And then I saw people even playing quad legs, and I was like, yay, quad legs. I really want to see quad legs, because in my previous video I actually talked about it. I said, oh, there's really not that much footage for quad legs, and we got a ton of footage for quad legs in this showcase. But the thing is, the PvP just looks like a total mess. It looks like a total mess. It's not really good looking, in my opinion. Especially because I know I cannot act ignorant about it. Like, I know I've seen it before. I've seen like a lot of PvP footage from the older Armored Core games, and it looked really fun. And it's not just that. I've played a lot of PvP from games like Dark Souls 3. I've really tried PvP for Elden Ring, and it just doesn't click with me. Though I've heard they made a patch recently, and I haven't checked it out. So maybe I should go back to Elden Ring and see what changed. It seems like they've changed, where the changes are huge in that game. So we'll see what happens. But I kind of know how good PvP can be in like games like Dark Souls, and having watched like a lot of footage from old Armored Core games and their PvP, I can have an idea of how good some of the PvP can be too. So, and just not just that, right? I've played it's not really a good comparison, but I've played a game like, say, Daemon X Machina, right? Which is kind of a really It's kind of like a very more bland and more straightforward and kind of not so well executed idea of Armored Core, I would say, but it's still kind of fun, and I can see how things like builds can affect the PvP and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. So when it comes to PvP in Armored Core 6, right? I think there are things that people are pretty concerned about that are very reasonable to be concerned about, and there are three things mainly. One is basically the stages, first of all, because the arenas are kind of weird. I think so far we've seen like what, 3 arenas, and if I have to count for things that we've seen in the other showcases, probably 4. So we have a total of 4 arenas that we've seen so far. But there's also the hard lock on, which is another issue that people have. And finally, there's a potential worry about like balance issues when it comes to how the game is made. So the first thing, which is the arenas, first of all, I don't think it's that big of an issue because it seems like the arenas are heavily based on the story progression. Like the more you progress in the story, and the more you will probably have more arenas, because it seems like some of the arenas are just like straight up bus arenas, and some of them are like just general mission arenas, right? So that's kind of how it is. I'm not too worried about the arenas, honestly. And if anything, you would have like a match where, oh, one build might take advantage of this arena, one build might be a disadvantage. It's fine, it's totally okay. It's like it's something that can happen sometimes. It's like a it kind of reminds me of Tekken, where you have like infinite stages, or you have stages with multiple walls, or no wall breaks, or just floor breaking, stuff like that. It's kind of interesting to me, so it depends. I think it adds more variety to the game in general, so it's fine to me. The other thing is the hard lock on that people don't like, right? So the hard lock on, I'm also kind of concerned about it, but some people say it would be just be straight up better if they removed it from the PvP. I would say no. I would say yes, but I also would say no, because I think it's fine to have the hard lock on. The thing with the hard lock on though is that it's not so much that it's strong, because it always locks onto a target and perfectly tracks necessarily when shooting. Because a lot of time we've seen in the PvP, actually I should probably change the footage. We've seen a lot of time in the PvP that the hard lock on doesn't always hit, right? All the bullets don't just always hit because of it. But the thing about it that is really strong, honestly, is the fact that you will never lose somebody, right? That's the thing. You will never lose somebody. Nobody you will ever be. DPS will never go down, essentially. That's what it is. There will never be a downtime for DPS because of the hard lock on. There was actually this one footage taken from the PlayStation showcase that I thought was kind of interesting. So we have these 2 players right here. They are both playing bipedal, right? They're both playing the bipedal legs standard. And then this guy, for example, that we see here on one of his, actually I don't know if it's this one or this one. Yeah, it's this one. He has the missile launcher from the reveal trailer of the game, where you just kind of do a swing with the arm, and then it does like an explosion chain, like a horizontal chain of explosion. And you can see it here. It actually, I believe it actually doesn't hit. Yeah, it actually doesn't hit the opponent here. The reason why it doesn't hit is because this guy is still using the hard lock on. And unfortunately, this weapon has a static animation. That means it's not like actively following the hard lock on. It will only use the animation in the direction where it's looking at the time. And this guy, his opponent is strafing on, it's like kind of moving around. So he's not perfectly tracking him. However, if he actually used the soft lock on, he would be able to reorientate his AC to aim right here and catch he will be able to predict the movement of his opponent in this direction specifically, and the chain of explosion will actually perfectly hit at that point. The thing about that is similar. It's something that's very similar to Dark Souls. Something that you can do a lot in Dark Souls, where you just kind of predict the movement of the enemy. You remove your lock on just to swing around and even behind you, while you know your enemy is trying to roll behind you. So it's a similar concept that is in Armored Core as well. However, the biggest thing now from the hard lock on is that after you use something like this, and say your opponent is able to dodge that, he's able to perfectly dodge your prediction, you can just hard lock on and you immediately have the opponent in sight again. So because of the hard lock on, the DPS, just not the DPS, but just the offense never has like downtime. Offense is always going on. It's never like there's never a pause. Basically, that's why hard lock on is kind of an issue. But it's not just that. Another issue with hard lock on is actually something that I thought was kind of scandalous and made one of the mechanics in the game a bit more irrelevant. So let's see here. It's just a mess of explosions. I like how people are like, oh, for answer, nobody would be able to. Look at this. Look at this hard lock. Look at this hard lock on. Isn't that kind of crazy? Do you see how much you can just see? Even though the opponent is not even on your screen anymore, he can always track him. That's the problem with the hard lock on. That's why some people are very concerned about it. Now, obviously, the other issue that would happen because of hard lock on is going to be balance, right? I think it's pretty funny that in this showcase, the only time when both teams were actually on somewhat of an equal footing was when they all chose tanks. If one of the teams didn't have necessarily like a tank, then they would actually kind of be in a losing position. Like, it seems like tank builds are just too good, and it's kind of unfair in my opinion. But it could also be a thing where, you know, it's just brand new players playing a brand new game, not knowing what's going on, and they have to pick what's obviously good, right, if they want to win. And what's obviously good is a tank. So maybe later down the line, as the game progresses, people will figure out how to play around the tanks, how to fight them and stuff like that, and tank will kind of go down in the ladder, right? So there's going to be that, but I also definitely feel like because of the hard lock on and because of the things that we've seen about this game already, right? We've seen item description, well, not item description, but weapon descriptions, parts descriptions, and stuff like that. And we've seen a lot of different things. We've seen missile launchers with different types of tracking, which, by the way, I've seen people say stuff like, oh, but look, even though they have the hard lock on, some missiles don't hit. Well, that's because of the different types of missile launchers. You have missile launchers that are good at close range. You have missile launchers that are good at long range. You have missile launchers that throw missiles upward before they land on the opponent, and then you have missile launcher with direct projectiles, right? That's what it is. And you have different types of speed and tracking different based on missile launchers. But in this game, because of the hard lock on and stuff like that, and because there are other parts like FCS that would improve the lock on, by the way, because there are different types of missile launchers, I feel like the tracking, bullet speed, stuff like that, all that stuff, I feel like we've seen the weakest version of it. That's the part that scares me the most, because as we know, this build that they were playing, they didn't have actually all the parts that were available in the game. Most likely it's just very early game stuff. It's most likely stuff from, like, I don't know, 3 hours of playtime, right? So imagine whenever people have more, right? It's gonna be kind of insane. The other thing too is that you can say, well, maybe there would be more stuff for, I don't know, you might have like jammers or maybe shields. We haven't seen shields in PvP and stuff like that. And that's true. But also, is it really good whenever things become mandatory? I feel like it's not really a good thing whenever in PvP things become too mandatory. For example, in Elden Ring, early Elden Ring PvP was really sucked because everybody was running Frost and Bleed. And because of that, you always had to, you always needed something against Bleed. You would always need something like that. And because of that too, a lot of people had that meta of just buffing before like any fight. They would buff 10 million times before any fight. It was just long and really lame, and if you didn't do it, clearly you were at a disadvantage. So it just sucked. Like whenever things become mandatory in a game where there's like freedom of builds and stuff like that, it just sucks. It's just bad, and I really don't want it to be the case for this game. So yeah, the hard lock on is kind of an issue. Now there is something that could be the one and only saving grace for this game. The one and only thing that could potentially make the PvP somewhat more enjoyable, right? So let me show you this. So this video is made by Cleric. This is one of the guys that were actually present during the showcase and was playing the game. And he went into the training tutorial, right? It's really cool that they have this stuff, by the way, in the game. So like I said, the PvE, I really like a lot of the things that they did for it. I just wish it had like co-op, but it seems like this type of stuff is really good. And this is the part that I'm the most excited for, to be honest, if I ever get the game, right? If I ever decide that I want to actually get the game, this is what I'm really looking forward to the most, just to be able to test out different things and different techniques, right? Like in terms of movement. So like I said, this is the one saving grace whenever it comes to the PvP. So here you can see he's using his blade, he's going around, he's boosting, and then this is the part that I'm talking about. So what we'll see here is actually more usage of the soft lock-on. And the soft lock-on is probably the most interesting thing about the game. It could be what can make the PvP a bit better and a bit more enjoyable, because this is where it adds a bit more skill. So look at this. First of all, you see he passes through the enemy. There's no lock-on anymore on this enemy because he's looking in this direction and the enemy is behind him. However, that means there's no lock-on going on, right? So there's this animation. Look carefully at his AC. Look how the AC is behaving, right? There's a quick turn. There's a little wind effect going on as well on the AC. Actually, I'll just zoom in, my bad. There's a little wind effect around his AC while he's doing this. And I think it's probably the most interesting part, right? Wind effect again, because he spinned twice. And now he has like, I think maybe this is the hard lock on, or maybe it's a soft. I'm not sure. I would actually have to play the game to know, right? And then he's boosting around. This is the soft lock on. This is the soft lock on. He hops and then he quick turns, and now he has the hard lock on. This little boost animation, I've seen this a lot. I don't know if you can get it while doing the hard lock on, but this little boost animation seems to be the only type of instantaneous movement that could actually help you. So the reason why I think this is good, and specifically with the soft lock on, is because it adds a backward movement while aiming. Due to the hard lock on, like I said, offense becomes non-stop. There's never a moment where there's like downtime for offense. But the thing is, if you're able to use the soft lock on to keep the opponent on in sight and also move backward, now it creates a thing where you are able to space a little bit more against an opponent and kind of use more ways to get to covers, even though the hard lock on still sees you through covers. See what I mean? And another thing about the hard lock on being able to see you through covers is that it kind of invalidates the scan mechanic. Like, why do you have scan if the hard lock on does it already? You know, it kind of sucks. So yeah, see, this is kind of insane. I like that boost animation, because I think the boost animation is the only thing that can actually help you mitigate a bit more of the the damage that you will receive. And it's not just about the damage, right? And this is another strength of the hard lock on, actually, is that in this game, because of the stagger mechanic, every bullet becomes valuable, like insanely valuable, actually. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand too, is that people are like, oh well, look, the bullets are missing, they're not all hitting the target. But it just takes one bullet, honestly, to make you sweat, because every bullet adds to the value of your stagger. So that's kind of scary. And in a game where hard lock on exists and where offense doesn't stop, you will only avoid so many bullets. So that's why I think soft lock on might be a saving risk for the game, because it's the only part of the game where I feel like there's a strategy that can be built around it, that can kind of stop people from just harassing you with hard lock on and just shooting all the time. I've also noticed that the little boost animation, not every AC has the same one. For example, I've seen that there is a bit more. Some ACs are able to just do it in the air, like really fast multiple times. I think that those mostly reverse join do it really well. Tank legs I've seen have a very short hop, which is probably their biggest disadvantage in comparison to the others. And then I feel like quad legs are just good in general. Quad legs just seem pretty good overall. But yeah, it seems like there's a little bit of a balance thing going on when it comes to that. So whenever we talk about things like skill ceiling, skill gap, or whatever like that, like things that make it so as a player you can grow with your skill, your skills can become better. I think movement with soft lock on is probably one of the things that you have. It's probably the only thing that you have. But when it comes to offense, I think obviously build optimization will be huge, because I don't think movement would be enough to actually avoid better FCS, better bullet speed, better tracking, better missiles. I don't think the movement of this game will not be enough to mitigate all of that. But on top of that, there's also the thing with the stagger mechanic, which gives you a combo. Well, what we'll see is that when the PvP evolves, I'm afraid that people will optimize their combos to the point where they are able to actually kill you as soon as you get staggered. That's the part that's really scary, because it's important whenever we have like footage like this where there's a new game, there's new players playing the game and stuff like that. It's important to know the potential of things, and I feel like the potential that I've seen the most in in this PvP showcase was really the fact that it's the lethality of the game. It's like, oh my god, you can die this way, you can die this way. And there's so many moments where I see people getting staggered and I'm thinking, oh my god, this guy could have died there right away. There's a moment where you see Oro even in his tank build just getting staggered to death because he got stuck. It's kind of insane. Like you can really combo somebody to death in this game just because of the stagger mechanic. So I think, yeah, hard lock on is not all might. It's not that almighty, right? It's not like super insanely broken because it's always hitting 100%. I'm just afraid that this is the weakest. These are the weakest build that we've seen. Basically, that's what I'm afraid of. These are the weakest build that we've seen. And then later on, we'll see better builds that will actually just annihilate people right away. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. That's all my concerns for the game. Will I get it day one? I think I want to wait. Before I get it, because PvP to me, like I said, is very important in a lot of games I play. In fact, Elden Ring PvP was so bad that after I was done playing the story mode, the first playthrough, I really loved it. And then I went into PvP, and PvP completely destroyed any form of like excitement and fun I had it with Elden Ring. Because PvP to me is more of a late game thing. It's like the thing that I will do after I'm done playing a game just for fun every now and then. It's just completely shut my excitement for Elden Ring. So now I really need to have more news on the DLC just to have more fun with Elden Ring again. Otherwise, I'm not jumping back really. I might jump back just to check out the patch, but honestly, it's not that great. And yeah, that's just kind of how I am. I really like PvP in games that have PvP, regardless of if it's like really deep or really flat. I don't really care. Like as long as it's kind of fun, as long as there's some kind of attempt to balance the game, then it's good. But in this game, I really just don't see it. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Just how it is. I'm sorry. So you may not like what I said, but I'm used to people disagreeing with me. Like on this channel, I have a history of just saying stuff and criticizing even the games that I like, and people being like, "Oh my god, you don't know what you're talking about," even though I was right. But it's okay. Anyways, that's all that I wanted to say. Thank you all for watching this video. I'll try to cut it as much as I can, make it as short as I can, and then that will be it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.